4 years ago, I made the biggest decision of my entire life. I sold everything I ever owned, my house, my furniture, all my possessions, everything except for 2 suitcases and my dog Marley, and I headed for the border. I walked away from a life that I had spent decades building. Most people thought I was crazy. Some people thought I'd be back within 6 months, and some even thought they could doubt me. At that age, when most people are trying to play it safe, I decided to do the complete opposite. I just started to start fresh over in Mexico. I wasn't moving across town. I wasn't even moving across my own country. I was leaving America for good, for everything I ever knew, to start fresh over in beautiful Cabo San Lucas. Looking back today, there was really only one question left to answer. Was leaving America the best decision of my life or the worst one? If you haven't already and you enjoy this type of content, go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Thanks so much. There's an old adage that says the more you own, the more it owns you. And I had just about every toy, whistle and bell you could think of back in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was so liberating to just get rid of everything, sell everything, and be completely free. It felt like I was a teenager again. And that was so amazing. What did people tell me when I moved to Mexico? People called me crazy. People asked me, what the hell are you gonna do with your life? Why are you selling your business? You have a beautiful family. You know, you have a daughter, you have nieces and nephews. I don't know. I just wanted something new in my life. I wanted a new chapter. I wanted to start fresh. I was going through a lot of transition in my life. Both my parents passed. My mom died in 2019. She was truly my best friend. My father died in 2022, and as soon as he died, I knew it was time to go. I had been actually planning for that time when they both passed. Not that I was excited, but I kind of knew that chapter of my life would be over, and I wanted to start fresh in another country. Cabo was not my first choice, but it was actually the best choice. And man, looking back, it was probably the smartest one too. What almost stopped me from leaving? I don't know, my house, selling my house. I had built that house from scratch. It was actually beautiful. I thought I was gonna die in that house, and I loved everything. I spent so much money on my remodel. I remodeled it several times, all the additions. I did an addition for a gym. I built an enormous 50-foot pool. I built a pizza oven in the backyard. I absolutely loved that house. And, as soon as I got an offer on it, it was actually a full price offer. I didn't look back. I didn't even think about it. And it was probably the best decision of my life to sell that house, because after I sold it, the market fell, completely dropped in Phoenix. And it was like the perfect timing. So one of my good friends who was a real estate agent at the time, he called me up probably a couple weeks before we were actually listing it, because we had planned the market entirely. And he said, you got to list your property this week. And I was doing a minor remodel in the house with paint colors and changing some fixtures. And I got it done just in the nick of time for him to list it. Within 2 weeks, I got a full price offer. Bam, right at closing, the market dumped. And it was just the perfect timing. When I got to Mexico, it was a complete shock to me. Especially, I decided to go to Todos Santos first, and before I got to Cabo. I knew Cabo would be the ultimate landing spot, but I saw this crazy video of Todos Santos, and I could build my own dream home right on the first row on the Pacific Ocean, and I thought it would be a dream come true. And I planned to stay in that little town for about 10 days, and I realized shortly within the first day or two, it wasn't for me. Half the roads were dirt. They didn't have actual grocery stores. that I'm used to. They didn't even have any big department stores. You know, it was a nice town, but it's not for me. I'm not a surfer. I'm not a hippie. I didn't feel like in place. And the weird thing about it is it's a tourist town, and a lot of the shop owners hate tourists. So I don't even know why it was there. But nevertheless, I got a sour taste from the real estate agent I was working with, because she showed me 8 properties where I could possibly build my house, and they were all on the dunes. And luckily I did my due diligence and checked with a couple architects, and they said, you can't build a property on the dunes, it's totally illegal. So from that point on, I just said, you know, I'm done with this little town. I don't want to deal with it. I knew Cabo was the place to be because I had been here 15 times on vacation, and I absolutely loved it. And I knew it would be my final landing spot. I just wanted to test that first to see if it would be good. But the first week in Cabo, first week in Mexico was not the best. The first month was not the best, because when I eventually got to Mexico, I spent probably about 10 days in Todos Santos, and I realized that town wasn't for me. And I got to Cabo. It was tough to find real estate in Cabo, because there was between Cabo and San Jose is called Los Cabos. If you didn't know that already, when they refer to Los Cabos, they're referring to Cabo San Lucas and San Jose, and they're about 20 miles apart in distance. And it's the city of Los Cabos, which makes up about 500,000. Both towns have about roughly 250,000 people in it. And I didn't want to live in San Jose. I wanted to be in Cabo San Lucas, just because that's where all the action is. You know, there's a lot more nightlife, better restaurants and stuff. And I'm a real estate investor, so I want to be where the hot stuff is. And San Jose is nice, but it's a little bit hotter. It's 10 degrees hotter, and I wanted to be more on the Pacific side more than anything. And what most people get wrong about Mexico, they think it's cheap. It's not cheap at all. It's very expensive, especially Cabo. Cabo is probably the most expensive city in Mexico, next to Mexico City. And it's just something you're going to have to get used to. And everyone thinks there's a stereotypical, oh, Mexico's cheap. It is not. It's just as expensive as the United States. Sometimes it can be more expensive depending on what you're trying to buy. I never thought about moving back to America. Possibly the first 30 days, because I was a little discouraged because I wasn't finding what I was looking for. And I think day 15 is when I found the property that I ended up ultimately buying. I found a lot just 15 miles north of downtown Cabo in Rolling Hills Estates, and I found the ideal situation. I found a perfect half-acre lot. It was paved roads, electricity. It had everything I ever wanted. So, because a lot of the property in Todos Santos didn't have electricity, they didn't have paved roads, and those were huge factors in my decision. And so I found Rolling Hills Estates, and it was great. I could buy a home in a nice cul-de-sac with paved roads and electricity, but the problem is I couldn't build on it for 2 years because the roads weren't done and the electricity wasn't finished. So I had to be very patient, and it just took a lot of it took another year for patience for me to learn that, because I really wanted. I saw this and I'm like, this is the spot. This is going to be the ultimate dream project right here. This is where I want to live in the long term. And I thought it would be the best decision. No, I never regretted moving to Mexico. I have very few regrets in my life. Well, I've been married twice, so we could talk about that later. But those are 2 regrets that I of course I have. So, but I have my daughter Alina. She was the best outcome out of that. Why did I choose Cabo over any other place? It has got to be the weather, the beaches, and the people. I didn't come here for the people, but that's probably one of the best decisions about Cabo is the beaches, the people, and the weather. First, my main criteria was I wanted to live in a beach city with low humidity. That was like that was non-negotiable. It had to have low humidity, because although I'm a New Yorker, I lived most of my life in Phoenix, Arizona, and if anyone's been to Phoenix, it's very hot and it's low humidity. So it's 15 to 20% humidity. And going to the beach is going to have high humidity, and I wanted to get the lowest humidity possible. So Cabo San Lucas was #1 on the radar, and 9 months a year the weather here is perfect. It's 65 to 85 degrees 12 months a year, and it's got low humidity, usually in the 30s to 60s, and then during July, August, and September the humidity can get a little brutal. For me, it's probably 60 to 75% humidity, but other than that, it's pretty perfect weather 12 months a year. Mexico, has he brought me happiness? You know what? I'm going to be happy no matter where I live. If I'm living in the States, if I'm living in Mexico, or if I'm living in Thailand, or I'm living in Russia, it doesn't matter. Happiness comes from within. You can't get happiness from external forces. Everyone thinks they can, but it's not. Happiness comes from within. And all those external forces like money, relationships, success, that's all ego. That's temporary, because after a while that's gonna wear off. But true happiness comes from within. What has Mexico taught me about slowing down and enjoying life? You really don't have a choice, because everything I'm so used to when I was in the States, I'm used to James time, which is immediately. I get things done immediately. I expect things to get done immediately, because just from the people I worked with, you know, it's just how I am. I have been my entire life. I usually go 24/7, 1,000 miles a minute, and Cabo's just taught me you can't always go that way in life, because things don't always happen on your time, and I've had to slow down incredibly, because that's just not how Mexico operates. And I think it's a Cabo thing, more or less, because I met a lot of people from, my entire crew is from different parts of Mexico. Carlos and his brother Alejandro are from Guadalajara. They're very usually on the go. They're they're not like the typical Cabo people, but I noticed that different aspects of Mexico, different parts of Mexico, they operate different. But you know, the whole country, I think, is truly amazing. It's truly a special country. My first day in Cabo, getting here was such a crazy drive, because I remember the drive out here. It was a 2-day drive, and I left Phoenix, I think, at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be out of my house at 5 o'clock in the morning. Luckily, the sellers gave me 16 days to sell everything, all my contents, and that was insane, because I had to sell off. I ended up auctioning off. I had a 3,000 square foot home. I had to auction off all my furnishings, all my possessions within 16 days. I don't know. I did it. I got rid of everything the night before. I mean, not the night before. It took me the whole 16 days, but I got rid of the last few items the last night, which was insane. And you know what? I ended up donating a half a room to charity and stuff, which was left over. But I don't know how I got rid of all that stuff. It was just incredible, because my auctioneer, that I actually had hired an auctioneer to auction off all my stuff, and he ended up quitting at the last moment. And so I'm like, you know, I can sell anything. So I decided to hold on the auction myself. He ended up doing all the advertising. And so people were coming. I had 400 people show up the next day, a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. Ended up doing it myself. I had never ran an auction. I didn't know what I was doing, but I got rid of pretty much everything. And it was truly a rewarding experience. The most perfect day in Cabo. Just I think my first month, when I was staying at the Hilton in Cabo, and I was just walking along the beach every day for the first 30 days, and it was just like so breathtaking. The beaches there, I was just, you know, so rewarding, and I was so grateful for all the beaches and the walks that I got to go on. I would walk on the beach for probably like 4 or 5 miles a day, and it was just so beautiful. And it's just like, I couldn't believe I was living here, because if I were to move to San Diego to have this type of life, it would cost probably 20 or 30 times more. And it's just much more peaceful here. There's tons less traffic. The people are nicer. You know, there's just, I'm just pretty happy with the choices that I've made. The biggest improvement my quality of life had over the past 4 years, I don't know, my quality of life was pretty good in Phoenix. So I can't really say it's improved much. You know, probably spending a lot more time outside. You know, I spend every day outside. I'm walking at least 10,000 steps. You probably can't tell because I've been eating like a ton all the time. But, you know, exercise every day, spending every time. But I love to spend time outside. I love the sun. I can't get enough of the sun. I'm outside in the sun 365 days a year. But everyone asks about why do you feel safe there? You know, I feel safer in Cabo San Lucas than any other city I've ever lived in my entire life. I've never felt unsafe anywhere I lived. The only place I've been to 30 countries in my entire life. The only place I probably felt unsafe was in Colombia. Just outside of, Barranquilla, Colombia. I remembered I was driving from Cartagena to Santa Marta, Colombia, and I was in a severe hailstorm in Barranquilla, Colombia, and I ended up pulling down the road in this bad neighborhood. It was in the ghetto, and I was asking directions to these people because my GPS did not work. I wasn't getting a signal, and I think there was probably like 100 gangsters like on this road. They looked like they were all packing heat. You could tell, you could see the gun in their pants. And so this young couple who was married had a kid, and she said, luckily she spoke a little broken English and I spoke a little broken Spanish, and she told me where the freeway was to get back on the freeway, and she basically said, get the hell out of here, you're not welcome here. And I thanked her for her time, and it was probably the only time in my life I ever felt unsafe. But other than that, I've never felt unsafe in Cabo or Mexico. I've been to probably 15 cities in Mexico. I never felt unsafe ever. Why do people fall in love in Cabo? What's not to love? The weather is beautiful 9 months a year. I think 12 months a year, but most people think 9 months a year. Their on season is usually October to June. July, August, and September can be very challenging if you don't like humidity. But other than that, they have some of the most beautiful beaches, not only in Mexico, but possibly the world.
If you're planning a family or group getaway to Cabo San Lucas, Villa Utopia is an exclusive private escape designed for connection and comfort. Just 5 minutes from downtown, the marina, dining, nightlife, and the most exclusive beaches in Cabo, Villa Utopia delivers a rare balance of location, privacy, and elevated luxury. Imagine waking up to ocean views, swimming laps in your own private 50-foot lap pool, relaxing in the jacuzzi, or gathering around your own chef's kitchen with family and friends. Secure your escape at Villa Utopia now. Message me on WhatsApp to reserve your dates.
Everyone asks me why I built Villa Utopia. Well, shortly after I purchased a lot in Rolling Hills, I needed another project to work on because I knew I couldn't build in that home for another 2 years. And if this is the first time to the channel, let me tell you, my name is James from Fearless in Cabo. Sorry I didn't introduce myself earlier. But we do a construction content, and I'm a builder. I've built and remodeled over 700 homes my entire life. And my first project was, I first bought the property in Rolling Hills, and that was gonna be my forever home. And I wanted to build the casita first, but before that, I could even start on my forever home. I wanted to remodel another home because I wanted a project to keep my mind busy, and I ended up picking a property. It was a new construction, but it was poorly built, and it was approximately 2,700 square feet when I purchased it, and I ended up doing an addition. I ended up tearing most of it down and ended up doing an addition to make it 5,100 square feet. And it turned out to be an ultra luxury vacation home. And it was never a vacation home to begin with. It was never my plans. My plan was to do it was to do a complete gut, a remodel and a rebuild, and to sell it later on, after I was finished. But the economy, the election turned over, the economy and the housing market just went to complete hell. And a lot of the housing market in the United States completely affects Cabo, because 60 to 80% of the visitors that are come to Cabo San Lucas are from the United States. 80% of the visitors that come to Cabo San Lucas are from the United States. 60% of those visitors are from California. And so if the California housing market is gone to hell, and the United States housing market has gone to hell, it's going to greatly affect Cabo, because all that money is typically coming from the United States. So I decided to take the house off the market. I put it on there for a couple of months, and there was probably, when I purchased, I'll give you an idea, because when I purchased the property, it had 200 homes for sale in Los Cabos, and all of Los Cabos, Cabo and San Jose. And when I went to sell it, there was 2,000. So we had 10 times more inventory. So let's just say it was saturated at the time. So I felt the best decision, you know what, let's turn it into a vacation home. Let's write out the market, because I knew it would only be, most housing markets last 6-7 months. Well, we've never experienced this type of presidency before. So I knew that it was going to be a long turn. And so I thought the best thing to do, let's rent it out for a vacation home, because it is, it turned out to be close to $2.5 to $3 million property, according to all the comparable sales. And to rent that out, most people can't afford that on a 12-month lease. Usually 1% of the people could afford it in the world. And it's hard to find a client that could rent that out 12 months a year. So I thought the best thing to do would be turn it into a vacation rental. And I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be fun to run. So I thought it'd be a great project to do that. People ask, why did I build one of the largest pools in Cabo? You know what? Because I thought the house commanded it. I've never built a pool in a home that I've remodeled before. This is the absolute first. And I wanted to build a 50-foot pool, because I said, as I was building it, I was living there at the property for the first year. So I'm a competitive swimmer. I swam for 17 years. I was also in the Junior Olympics. So I swim laps all the time. And so I wanted to build a lap pool, and it was a 50-foot lap pool. It had 2 Baja shelves for my dogs. So I wanted something very relaxing, the length of the home, something completely unstoppable. When someone saw it, I wanted them to see, wow, this is an amazing pool. And that's what I created. My favorite spot in Villa Utopia is probably that 12-foot spa. That thing is massive. I ordered that from Asia, and I had it custom made. It has a Bluetooth speakers. It has 4 Bluetooth speakers you can connect to your phone, and it has 140 therapeutic jets. It's got 8 light shows. It's insane. It's the most luxurious spa I've ever seen. And I bought it, and I had it shipped over here from Asia. It was like insane. I love it. And I was originally going to sell it with the property, but I said, this is a great thing for a vacation rental, because who's gonna, the home sleeps 10. So if someone's going to want it to rent a vacation home, they're going to want a gigantic spa. So I thought it'd be good. Really hosting guests has been so much fun to me, because you get to meet so many different personalities at the villa, and you get to meet people from different countries. We've got people coming from Canada. We got people coming from the United States. We got people coming from Mexico. We got people coming from Australia. I even got a guest later coming from Bangkok, Thailand later this year. And they're amazing personalities. They love, and the funny thing about it is, most of the people that come stay at the villa, they're all into architecture. They love the house. They love the way it looks, and a lot of them, they're fascinated by the architecture and the American California style home, because majority of the market in Cabo San Lucas is hacienda style home. And, I don't really like it. It's not my taste. I like more modern architecture. I like modern Mexican architecture. But the home I built was more California lifestyle architecture, since the majority of the visitors are coming here, and that's who's going to be renting out the house or buying it eventually when I do feel I need to sell it. But it was truly a great project. It means the home is really special to me because it was the first remodel project I did in Cabo, and it's the home that I met my entire crew, and Carlos and the guys, they really are special to me. I wouldn't be back in this business if it wasn't for them. When I moved to Mexico, I decided I wanted to get out of the construction industry completely. It wasn't stressful. I just needed a change in my life. I wanted something else. I wanted to adapt to, as I was actually going to be a spiritual teacher, and I wanted to help people on Zoom all across the world and do spiritual teaching. And I thought that would be more a funner venture. But I decided, God put me in this position. I guess He wants me to build. He wants me to continue construction. I love it for the most part, and the reason why I didn't want to get back into it, because everything in here is built in concrete, and I'm a framer, I'm a carpenter. I didn't like a lot of concrete jobs when I was back home, so why would I want to do it here? But luckily, I have an amazing crew, and I don't know, I would be lost without them. I am really appreciative for everything they do for me. So my perfect day in Cabo, walk on the beach for 5 miles and then go have some amazing tacos and ceviche. That's my perfect day in Cabo. Is Mexico cheaper than America? It depends on probably 80% of the states. And a majority of the cities, yes, it's going to be cheaper than the United States. Cabo, most definitely not, unless you're coming from California or New York. Cabo's not going to be cheaper. It's going to be more expensive than most cities in the United States. But it is a beautiful city. You're paying for the beautiful weather, the beautiful beaches, the amazing hotels, the amazing villas, the amazing resorts. That's what Cabo's all about. It's about the lifestyle, What costs more living in Cabo? Just anything you bring in, anything electronics, anything you import into the city. Cabo is treated like it's on an island. And even though it's not an island, it's in a peninsula. You just have to drive around, but they don't have the proper roads. I mean, if you can believe it or not, I've had tile delivered from New York City to Phoenix, Arizona within 2 days. And I think that's over 3,000 miles. And Mexico City is like 1,000 miles, and it takes me over a week just to get stuff delivered there. And it's insane that the logistics in this country are really kind of a nightmare, because some of the roads are just poorly managed, poorly built, and it's just harder to get things here. And especially we're on the tip of the Baja, and the southern tip of the Baja in California, and it's impossible. It's expensive to get here. They don't have free delivery. Everything costs to get shipped here, and it's going to cost 30 to 50% more than you're used to. I'll give you for an example, like a bag of concrete. The last time I left Phoenix, the bag of concrete was $4. The bag of concrete here is 189 pesos, so it's about $12. So it's $8 more, It's 3 times more the price, So, and everything you build out here is concrete. 90% of the stuff you build is in concrete. So you really have no choice. So, the cost to build homes here, that's what shocked me the most, is because, yeah, labor's a little cheaper, but it takes 4 times longer to build a house. So it's kind of a wash. Labor might be cheaper, but it takes 4 times longer to build a house. It took me a year to build Villa Utopia. It took 6 months to demo it and 6 months to build it. And the 6 months to build it was a record, but it was a fun project. The biggest mistake I've made the past 4 years, probably remodeling Villa Utopia, and instead of building a home from scratch. That was probably the biggest mistake I made. I didn't know how much it was going to cost to remodel. I spent a ton of money on that house, remodeling it, but it would have been cheaper to build and probably quicker too. But it was a lesson I had to learn. As I said, I built and remodeled over 700 homes, so there's no project that was too big or too small. I knew I could get it done, or too challenging. I can make the ugliest homes beautiful, and it's just my forte. It's something I really have a knack for, and it's something I really love. I really have a passion for, and I'm pretty good at it. So, have I ever been scammed living in Mexico? People ask me that all the time. Not too much. Yeah, well, I bought tile from a Mexico tile company, and you can watch a video. There's a video about it that I did, scammed in Mexico, and it was a local tile company here in Cabo, but I eventually got my money back. He never ordered the tile, and he just, I don't think he was purposely trying to scam me, or he forgot to order the tile. But nevertheless, I disputed on my credit card. I got my money back, and I made a video about it. But it's horrible business practices when you order a large amount from a client and you completely forget about them. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I waited 3 weeks for that tile, and I call him up, and he acted like he didn't even know me or know the order. And so, nevertheless, it's something I got over, and something I got over quite easily. But it can be frustrating when people try to screw you over. It doesn't matter where you're at. What frustrates me most about living here, the roads. The roads are pretty horrible here, and we probably have, I don't know, I would think probably some of the worst roads in Mexico. They're pretty shocking. But the roads and the water are the two things that most people complain about the most. The water I can deal with. The roads are just pretty bad, because I've had probably 25 flat tires in 4 roads. That in 4 years, that's insane. I am in construction, so I'm going to deal with more nails than normal, but 25 flat tires, that's insane. I've had more flat tires my entire life than 4 years living in Cabo. Luckily, I have a great tire guy, and he knows me by name, and he always gives me a great deal, and he always puts me first in line when he shows up. He goes, "Oh my God, there's James again." So it's all about relationships in this little town. Everyone that you start to build relationship with people, and and your life will become much easier. They ask, who's not right for Mexico? People who are very closed-minded will not make it here. Trust me, you'll be gone within 6 months. If you're a closed-minded person, you're going to be gone. You have to have an open mind. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to open to other things that you're used to. Because if you're not, you're not going to make it. You're going to bitch. You're going to complain. You're going to miss home. You can't compare it to the United States. And most people, they have that problem. I had that problem when I first got here. And so it's just something you're going to have to adapt to. And, it's good to try new things. It's not every time. You can get a lot of the American products here, but you're going to end up paying 30 to 40% more. Sometimes the Mexican product might be better. And you just got to try it out and to see it for yourself. But if you're not going to make it here if you're closed-minded and you're not willing to make changes in your life. So what someone would wish me and told me before I moved here. Just the cost of material, cost of construction projects. Well, actually, on my list before moving here, I actually looked into Hawaii, because I've always loved Hawaii. I've been there probably like 4 times on vacation, and I've been to most of the islands. And I turned it down because the cost of getting material there was just like insane. Like, I remember I went there probably, I think, like 12 years ago for vacation. And I remember a 2-liter bottle of soda was like $10, and it was $1 back in the States. And Hawaii is a state, but I can't remember, it was 10 times more. This was like 12 years ago. And I called up a realtor to look at properties before because it was on my list of like the 15 most desirable spots to live in my mind. Hawaii was on one of them. And, after I looked at the cost of construction and everything, I was just like, I don't want to be broke, So I just quickly checked it off the list. They do have some of the best weather in the world year round. So and some of the most beautiful places in the world. So, but, Cabo's almost as beautiful, and it's a fraction of the price. So and it's, it's closer to the States. So the worst day in the last 4 years, probably just dealing with the HOA. On my last remodel for Villa Utopia, dealing with the HOA was a complete freaking nightmare. Anytime you're dealing with an HOA, it's a nightmare. But here, I just like the HOA there is just, oh my God, they're so toxic. And it just seems they wanted to control everything about the remodel. I'm just like, how much money do you guys have invested in this? None. Your decisions should be nothing. They were trying to inject themselves in every decision in my entire build, and that's something I had never experienced before, because I had dealt with plenty of HOAs in the United States, because typically all they care about is what is your front yard, what is the color of your house going to look like, and what is the landscaping in the front yard going to look like. They didn't have anything other than to dictate those two things. And this, oh my God, I felt like I was dealing with a Nazi regime with the amount of restrictions they wanted to do, and I'm just like, how much did you have invested in this? Oh yeah, that's right, nothing. So your opinion meant nothing. But eventually I got done with the project, but it was something, it was a lesson. And I really don't want to give people the wrong impression. I think it was really the HOA I was dealing with. So, and at the time the administration they had left. So hopefully this new one gets better, but HOA, if anyone's dealt with them, they can be a nightmare. So what YouTubers don't tell you about what it's like in Mexico, that it costs more. Everyone thinks everyone thinks based off of YouTube that Mexico is so cheap. It's not cheap. I'm telling you this. It's not cheap, especially Cabo. You go to Mexico City, it's much more expensive. Two of my favorite cities in Mexico are Cabo and Mexico City. I love Cancun, but the weather there is miserable with the humidity. It's beautiful, and I've yet to make it to Tulum or Playa del Carmen. Those are next on my list. I also want to go to Oaxaca, and I also want to go to Puerto Escondido. But two of my favorite cities are Mexico City and Cabo, and the weather's there is beautiful in Mexico City. The landscape, the architecture, oh, it's gorgeous. I love that city. If you haven't been to Mexico City or Cabo, you got to come to those two cities. They are beautiful, top notch. Mexico City has some of the most amazing museums, architecture, food. It is really beautiful. I don't think I could live there full time, but I could definitely vacation there. It's a little chaotic because what is that? It's 22 million people. So the hardest part about living abroad is just getting stuff done. A lot of the banks or companies you're dealing with, they don't want to deal with someone outside the country. They think that you're leaving for good. I'm surprised none of my credit card companies have cut me off. Luckily, I pay everything on time at the end of the month. And, but a lot of them, they don't want to deal with you. They don't want to know that you're in another country. They're like, they won't call you back. They're like, what the hell country is this? I'm like, +52. I'm like, that's Mexico. They don't want to deal with you unless you have an American number. And it's impossible to get credit cards mailed to me. Oh my God, I had one mailed because my little swiper stopped working. And on my credit card, so I asked her for a replacement. It's been 21 days and I still don't have it. Typically, Amazon takes 14 days to get delivered here, which is insane to begin with. I'm used to 2-hour Amazon delivers in Phoenix, but it takes 14 days. But the package, the UPS driver, they can't find my address, and I gave them the address. They don't have normal addresses like they do in most cities around the world. In Mexico, and they even have normal addresses everywhere in Mexico except for Cabo. I don't know why. There's half a million people here, but they didn't come up with an address system. So most of the people's address is off a highway. It says 11.5 kilometer. So it's ridiculous. Hopefully I'll get it one day. So what has Mexico taught me about relationships? In this town especially, it's all about relationships. It's who you know and what you know. If you want to get stuff done, there's a lot of great people in this town, and there's a lot of flakes. A lot of places don't answer the phone when you call them. They're closed on Mondays, they're closed on Sundays, they don't answer the phone. But the people that you find in this town that are really reliable, you need to hold on to them because they're few and far between. And because there's a lot of people in this town, and I think it's probably just in there's a lot of flaky people in this town. Not just necessarily this town, but I think in the world, you know. And when you find people you can rely on, you can trust, you got to hold on to those type of friends, because they'll be for you. They'll be there for you when you need them most. What has Mexico taught me about failure? Well, I've seen a lot of people come and go from Mexico, from the United States, from Canada. They can't make it here. They can't adapt. It's too hard. They miss home. They've ran out of money. I've heard every excuse in the world, and I don't blame them if they want to go back. You know, I don't judge them. You know, Mexico is not for everyone. It's a beautiful country, but it's not for everyone. It can be tough to adapt to, and you know, I love the challenges. My life is not easier here. My life is more challenging here, but I truly appreciate it. I think I needed more challenges in my life, and I know that's probably kind of a weird thing for someone to say, because most people fear challenges. I love challenges. So what has Mexico taught me about being grateful? You know, just every day that I wake up, looking out my 22-foot slider overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I just look at that every day and say, wow, I live in paradise, and I couldn't imagine a life any better. If I could talk to myself 4 years ago, what would I say? Have some patience, have more damn patience, man. Because, you know, the James back then was extremely impatient, and I've evolved, I'd like to think, over the years, and greatly. I was very impatient when I had my mortgage company. I expected everything yesterday on my desk, no excuses. You know, I'm still a little bit that day, but I'm dialed down much better. So, and I'm happy for it. Would I suggest retiring in Mexico? Of course. This place is phenomenal to retire in. A lot of the people, especially Cabo, a lot of the people that live here, I would say probably 35% of the citizens that live here do speak English, maybe 40%. Most of the shops, they're very patient. If you speak broken Spanish, it's always good to learn a little bit of Spanish. Even like your basics, like buenos dias. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about Mexico is, you know, you could go anywhere. You can go to Home Depot, you can go to the grocery store, talk to a complete stranger. They're always gonna say buenos dias. That's amazing. You don't get that in the States. You know, people, you're looking down or looking away from you. They don't want to make eye contact. That's so beautiful. And I don't think you can get that in everywhere in Mexico. I think Cabo is truly a special place. You're not going to get that everywhere. But Cabo is truly special. Everywhere I go, buenos dias, buenas noches, buenas tardes, ¿cómo estás? You know, everyone cares about what you're doing. So would I build Villa Utopia over again? Of course I'd build it over again. It was an amazing project. I met my dream crew on it, but I think I would build it from scratch. I wouldn't do a remodel. If I could rewind the clock again, I would buy probably an empty lot in that same subdivision. Probably a different subdivision, but it is a perfect location. But I would buy an empty lot in that same subdivision and build it from scratch, because I ended up having the home had over 600 code violations when I purchased it, so it was pretty much a complete nightmare, and so I had to repair all that stuff. So, but it was truly a dream project. It was very rewarding. Was leaving America the best decision of my life? The ultimate question. Yeah, it was. I don't look back at all. I have no regrets whatsoever. I love America. I didn't leave for political reasons. I didn't leave for monetary reasons. I left because I just needed a new taste in life. I needed a new path, a new chapter. Both my parents had passed away, and they were my best friends, and I needed to experience something new. I needed to experience a different country, and I didn't know it was Cabo until the last final days, and it just made so much sense to me. And if you haven't came out to Cabo, contact me and get a hold of me, and I'll help you any way that I can. Even if you want to stay at the villa, or if you don't want to stay at the villa, it doesn't matter. I'll help you any way that I can. Cabo is truly a special place. It is, I love it here. The weather is perfect, the people are amazing, the beaches are incredible, and it's probably the funnest part of my life is being here. Thanks so much. You guys have a wonderful day. Take care, my friends.
Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for all the positive comments and all the positive stories that every one of you shared with me about your experiences right here in the Baja. I think it's truly amazing that we're growing in as a community, and we need to be there for each other. I'm absolutely elated that we hit 3,000 subscribers in such a short time period, less than 4 months. Fearless in Cabo, it isn't just about my journey. It's a part of who I am. Your support helps us keep creating what truly matters. If this inspires you, support us on Ko-Fi. Would mean the world to me. God bless you all. We wish you nothing but the best in life. Take care, my friends.